Okay, overcoming the hitch in the channel, the old content is restored and my terrific subscribers are resubscribing. Thanks to everyone. Let's drop in some new content. Time to spray some paint. Welcome to the model room. I want to lay down some different clear coats and compare them, but first I have to lay down some color coats. To do that, I'm going to try this Grex airbrush. This is the Grex Tritium TS airbrush, obviously a trigger action airbrush and a side loader. I like the option of having the color cup on whichever side you want. That kind of keeps it out of the way. I'm right-handed, so I keep it on the right side. The cup moves. If you're going to shoot straight, it can be up and down. If you're going to angle the airbrush down, you can move it back so it's always sticking straight up. This is a 0.5 millimeter, and I think it'll put out quite a lot of paint. Here is the tip guard on the front that attaches with a magnet, and you can just attach it to the back, and it'll hold it on there while you're painting if you want to do that. The trigger action is pretty good. It's a little loose as you bring it back to the indent, but at that point then it tightens up. Going back to the indent is all air. From that point back, then it's air and paint, but it's got a pretty good travel, and I think you can modulate it very nicely. So the action on it is fine. I like it. Also know that I am not sponsored by anyone. I'm not sponsored by Grex. I actually bought this several months ago. There was a sale before Christmas, so I picked it up. There are sales going this year at the Grex site because it's their 30th anniversary, but it's a different product every month. I don't think that this particular airbrush is on sale this month. You just have to check with Grex every month and see what they have on sale. Okay, let's get going. So no, this is not a model junkyard. These are spare bodies that I've collected for the purpose of color coding them in preparation for a test of a bunch of clear coats that I am getting together to see which one I like best. So I will prep them up and shoot some color on them. One of them will remain in white plastic because I'm going to do half of it with the future that I have just to see if it really did yellow or if that's just the bottle. I just want to compare and see. So I'm going to get these prepped up. All right, I am sanding these a little bit with a Display sanding sponge, just knocking down the shine. And then after I do that, I'm going to hit them with some Dawn Power Wash to clean them up, and then we'll be ready to spray. Okay, I've mixed up some paint. This is a dark blue, so it will show the shine better. It's acrylic paint. You can see I've mixed it with window washer fluid, and it drips off pretty nicely. That's the thing with acrylic paint. Sometimes it's thick, sometimes it's thin. You can't like weigh it out or measure it because it's not always the same from one to another. This is the Anita's. I like this craft paint. It's going to come out with a matte finish, so when we put the gloss on, we'll see really how much the gloss coat adds to it. And we're about ready to go. Okay, let's pull the trigger on this. This is the GTO body. It's actually the second one I painted. The Torino was first, and the paint went on well. But for some reason, there was something wrong with the footage. I decided to use this. This came out just fine. Putting on a light dust coat. Here I'm just testing the pattern. The pattern's good. It atomizes well. It comes out with as much paint as I want. Everything was fine. I'm putting on a light dust coat. No primer on this. These bodies are only intended to be the carrier for the clear coat comparison. So the matte acrylic basically is the primer for this. This dust coat does basically the same job, and it came out fine. It was okay. I'm shooting at 18 pounds, and with that big 0.5 millimeter needle, I didn't have to pull that trigger all the way back at all. I think at this point, I'm like less than halfway back, and the paint is still flowing very nicely. The trigger itself is very linear. There's not too much drag. It's not too loose. And it was very easy for me to modulate it to get the amount of paint that I wanted at any point. And the tension on it is just right to hold it wherever I want. So it was very good. It's very comfortable. The trigger air gun itself has some heft, but it's by no means heavy. and I was able to handle it very nicely. And with that trigger being out front and your index finger out front, it's basically so easy to just point and shoot. It's not like your finger's on top and you're pushing down and pulling back at the same time, which is not bad. It's not hard. I just prefer this trigger action, and I really enjoyed painting with it. Here's the second coat, a little more paint. Still not pulling back fully, still probably about halfway. A lot of paint can come out if I want it. I don't need it. The second session now, the paint's still atomizing well, so everything is going good. And there it is, a little more paint. Now, a little while later, the third session. I should mention that I don't like to expose my recording equipment to potential paint overspray, even if it's minimal. I didn't do it in this session, but I had an older camera that takes good video, you can see, and I decided to put that auxiliary camera into service for this particular part of the shoot, and it did fine. It did well, and didn't get messed up. Everything is fine with that. I'm using a little heavier amount of paint now, still not pulling all the way back, but I'm getting plenty out, and it's covering very nicely. The airbrush is balanced in my hand. I like that. Oh, and let me also mention that with this auxiliary camera, for some reason it cut out before the end of the session. That's fine, not important. The body got all the paint on it, and I'll show it to you in just a moment. I'm just about done. Well, I think my little auxiliary camera gave up before the end of that last session, but it worked out fine. I got paint on the body, and the Grex worked very well. I have to say, this is an excellent airbrush. The pattern that it puts out is terrific, and I was able to hold it at about half of the amount of paint that I could have had. That was enough. Maybe 18 pounds was a little high for that 0.5 millimeter needle. I don't know, but I was able to modulate this very nicely because there's a lot of travel here. So I got the kind of paint out that I wanted, and overall it's a wonderful airbrush. It's all plated, and if you look in here, I cleaned it up. It came out beautifully. There's nothing stuck on it or was left behind, didn't discolor anything. And I like that. My procedure for cleaning after shooting acrylic is to run airbrush cleaner through the gun while it's still pressurized, spray it out a couple of times, take it apart, clean it with water, clean it again with isopropyl alcohol, and then rinse it all out again with water and put it back together. I use pipe cleaners and some of the those little fuzzy things that you see that come with the airbrush kits to clean it out, and some paper towels. Altogether, it came out nice and clean, went back together very nicely. This thing's got some weight to it, by the way. This is a really good airbrush, so I'm happy with it. As far as the bodies go, they came out very nicely. Here's the GTO, and I actually kind of like this color palette. I didn't think I would. I'm not a big fan of blue for models overall, especially not like the darker blues. But this came out good. I thought, again, I was getting orange peel, but that Anita's acrylic just snugs down nicely when it dries, so it came out just fine. This one as well, you didn't see me shooting it, but I did shoot it beforehand, couldn't, use that footage, but it also came out good. I got a couple of chips in this. I think I handled it before it was ready to go, and I may have to touch it up a little bit. But overall, the painting with the Grex on these bodies came out very nicely. I'm happy with it. Okay, that's the Grex. I'm going to finish up the rest of the bodies and let them cure. I'll be away for a little while, but when I get back, I want to get started on taking a look at these clear coats and seeing which one I like best. So thank you all for watching, especially thanks to my subscribers. And those of you who have resubscribed, I appreciate it very much. We'll see you next time.